going to leave it there until I really need to fix it. So I'm not sure what that looks like for the future, but knock on wood, it's held so far. So
What do you
I wish it
mean,
had.
like they're waiting to see how it does before they do a longer kind of solution, longer term solution?
Yeah, basically, this is, well, I'm sure what it is they're probably thinking it's not worth our time to do this. If we can put it off, we'll put it off. That's kind of what I've gotten the impression. So as long as this thing stays in place, it serves its purpose. I guess they're happy with it.
Yeah, I think maybe that's a good way to say it. That's the pattern I've noticed as I travel through BC and tried to get appointments with dentists. Yeah, they're putting a lot of band-aids on broken arms, and sometimes it's just 15 minutes extra to do a more permanent solution. I
Yeah,
don't
I hear
think
you.
we're making progress in Canada with dental care, I tell you that.
No, I don't know if we are, and I don't know if it's because like all these industries are really lacking in personnel. I'm not sure what's happening, but
Well, part of it is the insurance companies are working with plans of fees that are very outdated that don't reflect the fees of today. So that's
yeah,
a
no,
lot.
that's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So first of all, I just want to thank you again for interviewing with us and taking time out of your day. I know it's a lot, especially during the summer, not when you're traveling around. So really appreciate that. Just want to let you know that you weren't the successful candidate this time. We did have a couple of really strong candidates, including yourself, and we kind of went in another direction just based on a couple of factors. If you want to hear them, I can explain them to you.
Yes, please.
Okay. So one was we had a couple of other candidates who had their own strengths, and most of their strengths were aligned with working directly with kids in schools. So they had a lot of background working in the schools already. Um, and also some of these people as well, a lot of the supervisors and references that we reached out to were kind of the people we were looking for. I know we talked about your situation and how yours was unique. These people actually were able to say, like, here's the director of schools, here's the principal, here's this person.
Hmm.
So that kind of helped those candidates as well. And I'm just sharing this with you because I'm sure you'd like to know how you would improve next time if you were to be given another opportunity or if you were to seek something similar. So for the candidates, it wasn't so much that you didn't have a great background or skill set to offer potentially. It was just we had candidates that were already very familiar with working in schools and had positions of counseling and working with kids in schools already.
Were they from out of town? A lot of the candidates.
Um, some candidates were out of town, and there were a couple that were local.
Oh, okay. Did you end
Yeah.
up choosing local?
We ended up going with a person who had recently moved here, yeah. But
Okay.
another candidate who was also very strong as well, actually lived way across the country over on the East Coast. And they also, to be quite honest with you, they also had like about 10, 12 years of actually working in schools. Um, so
So
that kind
let's say all your candidates would have been from far away. Does your school district have kind of housing facilities that you can uh,
we
utilize?
don't know, but what we do is we've worked with people who come from away, so we do get a lot of people. Like a lot of our teachers are not from here,
Okay.
as you can imagine. So a lot of our teachers do come from away, and of course part of the idea is when they come up here and they commit, um, or any employee for that matter, we work really hard with them to help find housing. So it would be like, for instance, if you had been a successful candidate and you said, listen, Paul, I need a place to live. Do you guys have board housing? At this point, we don't. The school districts did have it years ago, but it wasn't cost feasible to keep maintaining it.
Hmm.
So what happens nowadays, Martin, is we would basically say to you, like, here's some listings, here are some Facebook pages, here are some realtors who specialize in rentals. These are the people you should connect with. And if we know of teachers, for instance, who might be renting rooms out or might have apartments, we also like highlight those people as well
You
and say,
would
listen,
network within your culture communities. That's a good thing. Yeah.
yeah,
So two questions. One is you do have other postings, and I
yeah.
wonder if I was considered for some others as a secondary choice.
I'm not sure which postings you're referring to. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There, I mean, French is my first language. I know you had some French-related things, so I'm just
French
wondering.
teachers. Do you have an education degree?
No, I'm a learning
Okay.
specialist who has worked in classrooms like teachers do, but no,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really
For
want.
us up here, for us up here, when we bring up French teachers, they have to have their BEd or be like near completion. Um, we do have people come up here and sub, but again, subbing is very unpredictable. Um, and there's no guarantees, right? So I mean, I would never say to somebody you should come up here and sub because it can be expensive to live here,
Yeah,
and if you get all the calls to support it, it's not fair to mislead people and tell them that hey, you'll get lots of work, and then they come up here and they're like, I'm getting a shift or two a week, like it's not enough to live off. So that's a tough one. I mean, it's easier if you're coming up with a partner who already has a position or has housing already, then that's a lot easier to sell people. But it's hard to sell it to somebody who would come up and say subbing is my main,
yeah,
unless you had guarantees from some other district that they were going to hire you so many days a week. But for the most part, it's housing continues to be a challenge up here, Martin. But again, when we find candidates and we want to work with people, we do our best to help support them. And generally, I can be honest with you, this is 10 years in the district. I only know of one person who never got housing up here, and quite honestly, between us, I don't think they put the effort forward. They expected someone else to find the housing for them.
but
So,
so there are places they're just not cheap.
to be honest with you, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Sometimes people look into places that are a fair price, and then yeah, there's other places that it can get
The adv
expensive. Like
the
the housing market
advantage
is pretty expensive here.
the advantage with me is my little motorhome sometimes can be a great way to start in a community, but it's still a long way to go without somebody being excited in the skill sets and the guarantees that I offer.
Yeah,
But you know that person already being new to the community had the advantage that something brought them there. They had, enough money to kind of get themselves there or an opportunity to get themselves there. And for
and
me, that's a hard issue to solve. That's why it goes to my second question to you that yes, I can't solve the issue of no recent references when people don't give me work. For me, that's obvious logic and thing. But the thing is also is to be brought in a community to prove myself with a motorhome is also a great way to kind of say let's give that guy a try and see what his skill sets are because that guy is somebody that appreciates being observed at work because that's how transparent and confident he is in his skill sets. Can you refer me to kind of anybody else because you were talking about this being the territory, or the government was funding this, so maybe this position is in every school, and maybe some are more remote and have a harder time, or do have housing available, and they could,
and you know what? And you're right. When you go up further north, they tend to be like I've taught in the Arctic, so there's obviously more help when it comes to housing because they recognize the challenges of an outsider coming into like a small community of 300 people and not knowing anybody. And of course, in order to get people like that in there, they have to be able to say, we got a house for you to rent, or you can stay with this person. Like they have an apartment or a granny suite or something, you know what I mean?
hmm
And certainly there are other jobs out there. Now, I mean, they're out of our district, so like there's 4 or 5 major districts up here. Um,
but you don't
some
have
are
any specific connections that you would give me a lead to kind of look into, eh?
I was in one. I was in a district in the Arctic, probably about 10 years ago. I don't really know any of the people up there now because they've all either moved on or retired.
Yeah.
But even at my school, there's not one person at my old school who is still there, sadly enough, because
Mm.
they were like me. They were kind of transplanted there. Even at the district level, I've never met half the people up there because after being here for 10 years, I've never had a reason to go there. You know what I mean? It would be kind of like living in Vancouver, going up to northern BC, and then leaving northern BC back to Vancouver. You don't go there for 10 years, and people disappear, and you realize that it's not the same crew up there. So, unfortunately, I don't know anybody in my new district. It's been kind of too long now. But the other districts, who I don't work with because I work with the Catholic district, they may be posting things on their websites. My advice would be to go in and check out their websites as well, Martin, and see if they are posting those jobs because that's typically where you'll see them. Um, and for some of the government-run schools, you would want to go to the Government of the Northwest Territories website and look at careers. and they would post the careers for all the different communities that they are responsible for.
Is there independent schools as well that will appreciate like three different kinds of post-secondary degrees, but not necessarily one in education, although I've worked in education?
There probably are some. I wouldn't be able to list them off now. And I know in the Yukon, they've got a recently they've adopted a First Nations school board approach, and I'm not sure what their philosophy is either, Martin. So I mean, they're also worth checking out as well. The Yukon.
Yeah, Paul, during COVID, there's a lot of people that were working in schools with a different bachelor's, and they were more successful with the learners. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, public servants received pressure from, teachers' unions to not maintain what was learner centered. So, yeah, I think sometimes the reason so many teachers leave a place and go think the grass is greener somewhere else is often, the unions, the certified process, it's almost like an elite group, but they don't allow measurements of quality. Like there's a lot of post-secondary institutions in Canada, and when let's say if I would advise a politician, I say, do you want to know who you should fund? The ones that actually do surveys at the end of every semester to see what the students thought of the teachers and the faculty and the program. And there's less and less doing that, right? And sometimes it's
absolutely.
student unions that have to get on board here and monitor that the feedback is being applied. And that's kind of the kind of places, right, that if you read my definition, I'd like to be in.
Yeah.
So thank you for this personalized response. I mean, I was looking a few times today. I was, it's sometimes sometimes I would say, "Oh man, I decided to put my faith in people that have faith," and you never know, there might be a miracle, and then you get to prove yourself. And I even had last week applying for a different job that was also a religious organization. I would say I already know what my speech is a year later if I get an award for the best, staff of the school, and my speech is the award should not go to me because I'm the same person I've always been and claim to be and can demonstrate. The award
Mm-hmm.
should go to the people that did the leap of faith because that's really the real miracle that brought me here to be appreciated for this first year. And unfortunately that, I don't think I'll ever be given that speech. So
Oh,
uh,
you never know.
well, pray for me. Okay, so thank you very much. And if you think of any other leads, feel free to use my email and let me know. I'm going to keep looking because I know this area is not a place I can be happy, with my standards. So I'm going to keep looking. So thank you very much and have a good weekend.
No problem, and all the best.
Thank
You
you.
have a great weekend too, Martin. Thank
Thank.
you.
Bye bye.